Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in here to the live stream. We are back. Myself, Crypto Mark, getting ready to talk about some XRP, talk about some altcoins, getting a little late evening push upwards in the market. It's been quiet. It was kind of a quiet weekend. Mark, I know you're making content. It's been a little crazy. Bitcoin setting new all-time highs. Eventually, we're going to get this rotation, though, right? I mean, into Ethereum, into XRP.
Yeah,
XRP's been quiet for a while. We're going to take a look at the chart on XRP, guys. We'll take bunch of your questions. We just want to hang out with you guys a little bit, and I think we're going to try to do more of these dual lives and hang out with you guys a little bit more
at night. At night.
Yeah. So what's up, bro? What's happening?
Just kind of hanging out on the sidelines, man. It's been kind of rough. Unfortunately, I feel like everybody in the world just thinks that the crypto market just continues. It just only can go in one direction. So it's been a little bit. I call it healthy. So we'll talk about that a little later on and kind of get into some of the headlines. There's a lot of people out there, antsy. I think antsy would be a better word. And I say it in all my videos. I've been saying it, we are trading Bitcoin above 100,000. Okay. So eventually we just got to call a spade and understand, like, I'll take this. Okay. I'll take this. And I think, the greedy is always usually on the other hand with selling and holding. But I think the greedy is more so just kind of that mindset. So I think this is where you really got to have good psychology as a trader in this market, especially where we're at right now. So we'll talk about that. But XRP, and to be honest with you, Zach, I know I've told you my strategy. We are just waiting. I am waiting. I want to see this price go down below $2. Just being honest, because it's been kind of the big floor for me. And even when XRP was pumping, when Donald Trump was inaugurated, all that good stuff, we had all that action, right? A lot of news headlines, a lot of volatility with what we are reading, seeing, watching every single day. This is more trading. This is more numbers. This is more kind of what's going on right now versus what everybody says is going on. So just completely different, I think, environment than we were in 2 weeks ago. Okay. So, but everybody wants it. Everybody wants the X. Everybody wants this. I know that the XRP army, fresh off the convention in Las Vegas, everybody, Bitcoin was the same way. Everybody thought it would get that pump. And unfortunately, both of those conventions kind of led to some red. So I wish for some better numbers for those people that were in attendance, lose some money in Vegas and you get to see your wallets go down. It's kind of, doesn't make for a good partnership within degen mode out in Las Vegas, but perfect city for a crypto conference. It really does go hand in hand. So.
Yeah, man. Sin City, crazy atmosphere. I'm sure. I didn't make it out to Bitcoin Vegas either.
Yeah.
And then we had XRP Vegas going on right after it, and definitely want to get out there at some point to that one. But yeah, guys, welcome in. We're just kind of getting things kicked off. Not even 5 minutes in. Thanks for joining us. Bunch of people, jumping in here. I see a bunch of familiar faces in the chat. You guys know the drill. Help us out. Hit the like button. Let people know we're here. Run it up. Drop a comment. Drop your questions. We're going to try to be, answering as many things as we can in the chat. Probably going to hang out for about an hour or so and just, rock with you guys for a little bit. And obviously subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Crypto Mark, good buddy of mine. I've got his channel linked down below in the description on the YouTube end. So if you guys haven't heard about Crypto Mark, definitely check out his channel. He's covering all the top cryptos and Pepe and Cardano. I see this comment from Hunter. Did you guys see Charles might be on Joe Rogan? I did see that come across. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later.
Is it definitely going to be Joe?
Well, Charles, I guess, said he said it's one of the biggest.
Yeah, and I think he's teasing it because it may not be.
I could see it being Lex Friedman because Lex Friedman had
exactly
Vitalik Buterin on there. He's kind of a little bit more nerdy than Joe, I guess would be the way to say it. You know what I mean? A little more deep in the weeds when it comes to cryptography, if you will. But
and then,
we'll see.
Yeah, and another thing on that is I definitely think Saylor gets on before Charles. It's just better for I think
Yeah.
Rogan, and I think he knows that.
I think
So
Joe owns Bitcoin. I'm not sure if he owns anything else, but I think he's
yeah,
been on record saying that he owns some Bitcoin.
yeah. I think Sailor would be first, and I think it would crush a little bit more so.
But Mark, you were talking about price action with XRP. You want to get it under 2. So do I. There's a lot of support around $2. I caught some flack. I loaded the boat at 225. Now, I'm not mad about that decision. I converted some old crypto. I'll just say it here. $20,000 worth more into XRP. The video did really well for me on YouTube, but a lot of people said I was an idiot. I'm a dummy because it dipped down to like 218 after that. But
Hey,
listen, I'm ready to buy again under 2. Kathy says 185 is a good buy. I mean, listen, if we get back down there, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity under $2. And
yeah.
if we started early April, remember we had that crazy dip in early April down. It wicked down to like 160. I'm pulling
Not
it up
for
here.
long.
Yeah, not for long. It ended up closing. These are weekly sticks. I've got the weekly up. That's another thing too, right? When you zoom out on this chart and you take a look at the weekly, I mean, XRP looks super healthy. Right?
Yeah, they all do, honestly. And
yeah.
there's some things I can pull up from a TA perspective a little later on, but at least you didn't make your wife buy above $3. Talk about catching some flack.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, my girlfriend's mom bought Bitcoin at 109,000.
Oh, she's hanging out.
The first time it hit 109, literally right at the top, it was just like by happenstance that it was at all-time highs. But that's usually how it goes when retail first hears about things. Usually they're hearing about it when it's at the top. You and I, though, we were talking about XRP when nobody was talking about XRP.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when it was 40, 50 cents and we were getting 40 or 50 views on our YouTube videos, we were screaming from the mountaintops that this is a buying opportunity. Then the explosion happened in November. Obviously, we went parabolic. We got up over $3. We've calmed down a little bit, but again, when you look out, in a zoomed out perspective here, we're channeling really, really nice, since kind of bottoming out in late March, I would say, just under 2. We've been in a slow grind up. Are you still in the camp like, late 2025? I mean, we're hearing that. I mean, is that the Q4, 2021 type bull run that we're going to get again here in 2025? I know you got to pull out your crystal ball for this, but
oh no, yeah, I already used it at the gas station. I was buying lottery tickets a little earlier on, but no, I talk about it in all my videos, and I do remember those days with XRP when you were even asking me, why am I making XRP videos? Well, I was getting more views than anybody on YouTube, and then next thing you know, we're out of the SEC litigation, and everybody decided to kind of latch on. No, that's a great question, because the way I look at it, and personally, when we talk about kind of what XRP has done, you kind of have to look at it for a longer term sense. And it's just crazy and fascinating to watch, because you could have everything going in the right direction and it just does not matter. But what was your actual question, if you don't mind me asking? I kind of lost my train of thought.
Yeah. Do you think Q4 is?
Oh yeah, no, that's what
is that bull run we've been waiting for? Because
no,
you and I both know how this game's played. All we need is like a 2 to 3 month stretch. If you're positioned, if you're ready now, I mean, if you're stacking at certain levels, all you're looking for is like that 2 to 3, 4 month window. Are we going to get it late this year?
Well, that's kind of the big timeline, and nobody has that crystal ball, but my personal opinion, and I talk about it on all my videos and just kind of where my head's at. We had a very unique, right? Everybody wants to follow 4 years within the Bitcoin halvings, the presidential elections, the historical cycles. First and foremost, XRP is kind of immune to that discussion. They were suppressed. They were in the courthouse. They weren't trading during a bull run like every other crypto. So that's kind of interesting if you want to apply 2021 to XRP. But for altcoins, Bitcoin, we can. And the answer to your question is, this has been really unique because Donald Trump steps in, and this wasn't just a smooth transition. This was a fire drill. They gutted Congress. They gutted all of those administrations. It was a very bureaucratic kind of second term as he started out. And then after that, we have, not only was he resuming his second term within very heavy inflation numbers, not only that, we had some huge macro. If you remember, it was, that's when the Palestine Israel stuff started. That's when we had Russia, Ukraine heating up. And no matter who was president, no matter what XRP was doing organically, technically, it did not matter. It could have been a bear cycle, a bull cycle. We could have seen Bitcoin at $500,000. It would not have mattered in that climate. We saw this with the original Russia, Ukraine. It was significantly crippled by kind of that conflict, and doesn't apply really. It's all short-lived unless you break out in World War III. It's just something that it's going to add volatility. That's kind of why I'm anti-ETF, and we could talk about that a little later on, but that's the whole discussion, right? The ETFs, right? It's buy the rumor, sell the news, the inflows, the numbers are there, but the price action isn't, okay? I personally think Bitcoin would have got to 111,000 without a Bitcoin ETF. That's just my viewpoint. And when you have all these institutions that were already there, but now they're in mass capacities, we know how that works with the stock markets. And when you apply that to crypto, it's all programmed. It's all based on risk assessment. And it's not just, the 1,000 or so people watching this chat. It's, some guy in a suit with an algorithm mitigating risk. So you start flying bombs, you start, having Fox News, CNN, broadcasting conflict. It's going to be something where we saw a disruption of this cycle. So as it relates to XRP, and what your question was, we haven't really started the course that we should have started on time. So it's delayed. So it's not going to be the historical, sluggish summer month. It's really going to, in my opinion, we tell from our YouTube views. We have a very good pulse on the market, not from being traders, but just from doing this stuff, right?
In terms of like where retail is. Yeah.
In really everything. I truly believe that because it all correlates. If institutions are heavy, retail is going to follow. They're going to follow the money. And, institutions are pumping the market. Retail is going to FOMO in. Our views go up. If our views are down, the market's probably correlating with that, unless it's something catastrophic where we get short-term pumps where everybody wants to know the news. It just really does correlate. And I think that that's something where we've seen historically in the summer months, it's a slowdown. So if we look at the 4-year cycles and everything that goes down, I mean, you've been doing this for years. I've been doing this for years. June, July, August have been historically really bad months for views and really bad months for price action. We have not really had great, you talk about, XRP, I believe, Cardano, a lot of the ones we talk about, if you look at those histo charts, basically, everything is in the negative in these June, July, August months.
Yeah. It's usually a cool down period for sure. And I think you're right. I don't think, the market's so institutionally driven right now, especially with Bitcoin. Obviously, we're not getting as much volatility as we're used to, the big swings, up and down because of all the ETFs. But, speaking of ETFs, I think XRP is one of the next in line. A lot of people are asking what's the next ETF to drop. We shall see. We've got Bitcoin, we've got Ethereum. I think, XRP's in the mix, Solana. I think Litecoin is a dark horse, HBAR. But then we had some interesting news, and we could talk more about ETFs and things like that, because I do think that will hit at some point here in 2025. Brad Garlinghouse does too. He recently talked about that in a Bloomberg interview late this year. I think we've got, 18 or so different XRP ETFs filed right now at varying stages with the SEC. But this right here, we saw 3 different stories come out surrounding this whole XRP as a treasury, as a strategic reserve. This one, though, really caught my attention. I'm sure you saw it. Vivo Power, which is a NASDAQ-listed company, they're going all in on XRP with a bold $100 million bet. And you know who's backing that $100 million? The Saudi royal family. And so this to me opened my eyes and ears, right? Because we know that XRP, Ripple, the company, while going through the lawsuit in the United States the last 4+ years, they've still been expanding. They've been growing like crazy in Asia. They've been growing like crazy in the Middle East. And you look at a place like Saudi Arabia, really all of these big countries in the Middle East that have money, a lot of it is oil money, but they're slowly diversifying away from that. And one of the ways they're doing that is getting into crypto and particularly XRP. So this to me is very bullish. And listen, I know you feel this too. We make videos, we put them out there, and people say, well, Zach, you're an idiot. You know, Mark, you're an idiot. The price hasn't moved. What do you mean this is positive? Guys, things don't happen, you know, in the snap of a finger. All of this is coiling up, I think, for the next big move. Remember when we had XRP at 50 cents for seemingly ever, and literally in a month and a half, 5 to 6 weeks, we went from 50 cents to over $3. We did a
Correct.
6x, and that's what happens. All of these stories that come out, all this, you know, attention that we put on XRP on our YouTube channels, they're real stories. They're really happening. Do we see the immediate price reaction from it? No, but these are things that lead to price action down the line. So, I mean, you know, I opened up a couple cans of worms there. And guys, feel free to drop comments. I want to get to everybody in the chat and ask your questions, but I don't know if you want to tackle the whole thing of ETFs or the whole strategic reserve conversation. Basically, big institutions coming into other assets outside of Bitcoin and creating reserves. I think XRP it's carrying a lot of weight, especially in Asia and the Middle East. And we see it backed up by volume, just how much volume comes through XRP in these regions too, even on the retail side. It's crazy.
And that goes back to your point. Like, people want to see that 50 cents XRP chart for inspiration. I want to see it because that's kind of when, that's when the real buying was going on. If people were actually believing, right? And it's just crazy, right? Nobody would have thought, I think if anybody in this chat, please feel free to correct me, but nobody in this chat would have thought that XRP would have been trading pushing $4. Okay. One day you're in the courthouse fighting the SEC. Next day you're shooting $4, and the next step is kind of everybody's thinking and some crazy thoughts, looking at their wallets. And it's just sudden. And to go off of that, it's all speculative. Okay. And once we do get all this, I think, implementation, the actual, like we're talking about, kind of the Vivo or whatever, all of that stuff, the partnerships, the collaborations, Swift banking system is probably the only one that would kind of have merit in terms of results. But all of these things, once they come to fruition, I really do believe that the speculation will go down. And, when you lose that speculation, you lose the FOMO. So it kind of wonders to me, without that volume, without those inflows, where's the demand? You know what I mean? Like, once you make it and that speculation dies, I think Cardano is a great example. Third in market cap, all speculation, right?
Yeah.
Defecting from Ethereum, boom. And then, not delivering, not getting robust activity. And then next thing you know, everybody's just kind of looking for that new flashy toy to kind of invest in. And, for a lot of people, for XRP at least, it's a completely different mindset. All right. And so I own a lot of crypto. XRP, it's a completely different category. It's just way off the grid. It's not even, I'm not swing trading it.
Now, when you say that completely different category, like, meaning it's more long-term, where you're looking to maybe trade things within the cycle this go around, like, some of the hot assets, whatever, like Solana, SWI, I mean, some of these things where you're looking to make a nice little, 3, 4, 5x on, whereas XRP you're looking at as like more in line with like Bitcoin, where it's kind of a buy and hold mentality, like, I don't want to put those words in your mouth, but I'm just trying to.
It's something where, okay, so when I view XRP, for it to bloom, we're talking 5-10 years from now. I don't consider it even a long-term hold, because that's a different mindset. It's just does it have to do with what Tsunami Tommy, is putting out there? Because I agree with this, we need a lot of things to kind of happen. That's pretty much exactly how I feel. That's in a different way of wording it. That's exactly my mindset. Yeah. It's almost like XRP for me, and this is, obviously not financial advice. but I view it almost like, think of it like back in the 90s or late 80s, and like it's like, you know, that computers are going to be a thing, and it's like, we know that the XRP is the Microsoft, the Apple of the computer world, and you know that's going to be the player, right? So maybe buy, hold, but just like it's that knowing that if they really are going to do what they're going to do, it's not going to be like a crypto conversation, right? And that's why we get into the market caps of like the market cap, and you use coin perspective, whatnot. You talk about kind of all that stuff, and everybody goes, "Oh, it's impossible for XRP to reach this market cap." Well, watch a couple people. I've watched a lot of podcasts and viewed some things. It's a bad term for crypto to use the word market cap. And if you look at the supply, the tokenomics, all that stuff, it's hard to fathom where XRP could ever reach $1,000. Okay, but when you really apply some of the numbers, the tokenomics really just go out the window. And I think that's something where we're talking crazy conversations, and people would think I'd be tinfoil hatted if I were to kind of bring up some of those points. So we're not going to do that. But you talk about
a little bit though, because I put it in the title. A lot of people are probably wondering, trillions are coming. Are you?
Yeah.
So
it's not like a scarcity thing either. It's just, I don't want to misspeak, but it's just, you have to understand the inflows. And it's really truly that, I know it's like cliche, it's clickbaity, whatever you want to call it. But like, there is a really
people think so here's what I think. People have this idea that, what do you mean it's going to become this multi-trillion-dollar asset? Like, why would people buy it? So it's one thing to talk about cross-border payments. One thing we don't talk enough about is where I think Ripple stands within the tokenization industry. Mm-hmm. Because as big as cross-border settlements is, tokenization is much bigger. And I want to keep reminding people, and I'm doing this a lot in my videos, Ripple is partnered with Ondo Finance. Ondo Finance is working with BlackRock to tokenize U.S. treasuries and equities. So when we talk about trillions of dollars, we're talking about all of this, old archaic system being revamped. So it's a lot of it is the same money, but now in a tokenized world, right? So that's and if XRP, Ripple the company, and XRP the asset can be a piece of that, that's trillions of dollars. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that in and of itself, and I think we come across the timeline. I made a video about this. I'm sure I can quickly Google it. And this is just one example. Okay. I'm sure I can find it quickly with a Google search. Dubai tokenization, Ripple XRP.
Yeah. Okay. And when you get done, I want to talk about kind of the comments, because I want to apply my logic.
Yeah. Yeah. And guys, hit the like button, subscribe down below if you haven't already. Almost 1,000 people up here live with us. Mark's channel is in the description of the video. If you don't follow him on YouTube, we're going to be doing a lot more of these late night lives. Make sure you follow him on X. We are live on all platforms right now. So again, check it out. Link down below, both his X and his YouTube, and then follow me, subscribe, all that great stuff. But yeah, this to me, I spent a lot of time. Really, I think I've reiterated the last like 3-4 days. Dubai's tokenization push, why it matters for XRP and crypto at large. Crypto just got another boost from the desert. Simply, Dubai is turning real estate into code. The city has launched a $16 billion initiative built where? On the XRP ledger to bring property ownership to the blockchain. And again, this is just a fraction. This is just one snapshot, one news article, one piece. This to me is the bigger play. And I'm not taking anything away from Ripple and cross-border settlements and remittances and all this stuff they've built. But to me, this whole idea of offering tokenization as a service, again, to revamp the biggest industries in the world like real estate, this is where I get super excited. And it's why I'm heavily invested in this entire RWA space. They don't list XRP on this list on CoinMarketCap. They should. It should be number one, but they don't. But if you know anything, if you do some digging, you'll know that Ripple's heavily in this arena. So you got the likes of Ripple XRP, Chainlink, Avalanche, Stellar, HBAR, Ondo, who's partnered with Ripple, VeChain, Algorand. I own all of these. I own literally all these ones right here on my screen. including XRP, which should be right here. I own all of them because I'm not smart enough to know exactly which ones are going to be the biggest players, but I know I'm going to win on 1, 2, or 3 of these, hopefully more, right? And I think XRP has the best chance considering they have the most liquidity. We haven't even got into the whole thing, Mark, and I know I'm off on a tangent here. We haven't even got into this whole idea of how focused Ripple is on acquiring companies. You know, I know they acquired Hidden Road. They were making a push for Circle, USDC. They have the money, though, to go buy up whatever they want in order to make this transition from TradFi to DeFi and the whole tokenized world a reality. This is why I think they're the biggest player in the RWA space. I know I talked for a while, but I'll throw the mic back over to you.
Yeah, no. Just kind of reiterating, a lot of people in the comments are talking about, the 150 billion, whatever it takes, 1 billion of inflow to the current market cap will only bring it up by $150. And you're right. That's basically looking at it from the supply and the tokenomics perspective. Okay. If XRP, you see these price predictions, crazy things, right? XRP to reach $1,000, you would need it to be a $58 trillion market cap by the tokenomics, right? Hugely unlikely. Now, this is where I kind of was sold as I listened to some people talking about it. And what it came down to was, it was very similar to I don't remember the exact kind of nomenclature of the event, but it was something, and I can look it up real quick. But basically, it was back when it had to do with the supply of gold. Okay.
And I don't think XRP is going to $1,000 anytime soon, by the way. I mean,
let me look at this.
You know what I mean? So that's outrageous, but we don't need that to happen in order to have a really good investment here. Yeah, but they are burning XRP slowly. I mean, we can get into that too at some point, but go ahead.
So if you want to share, I believe it was the Gold Reserve Act of 1934. Okay. And I think that's kind of where, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And what it did was, it was a way to combat the Great Depression, to control the value of the US dollar. Okay. So what it did was, it made the government kind of raise the price of gold. Okay. Which allowed the United States to devalue the dollar, and that devaluation kind of basically stimulated the economy. Now, my impression of listening to that discussion and people talk about it, you could go do a quick Google search about XRP and applying this logic. But what it comes down to is, we talked about a little bit within the United States, if they were going to essentially make XRP a strategic reserve, which we know now that probably won't happen as of now. But the rationale that I'm trying to use is, when they did that Gold Reserve Act, they made the price of gold whatever they wanted to make it. Okay. So in saying that, when you talk about XRP, yeah, the tokenomics, you'll never reach $1,000. Okay. But the value of an asset, independent of market cap, is a value that what somebody is willing to pay for it. So yes, tokenomics, you'll never see it, 150 max probably. But what happens if it's just inflated, whether it be from the United States government or just because of demand reasons? And yes, it's from a market cap perspective, it's $150. But if people want XRP, if you need XRP, would you pay $1,000 for XRP? Okay. And I'm not saying for whole XRP, obviously it would be fractional, but that was a very interesting perspective. And that tied into, if they do replace the SWIFT banking system with all of those inflows, it really does kind of enable the price of XRP to kind of outreach what the tokenomics tell us that it could be. So when you see those far-fetched price predictions, yes, they are a pipe dream. Yes, they aren't reality. Yes, they aren't, black and white. You can't use formulas and come up with the numbers, but the value of an asset is what somebody's willing to pay for it. So that's kind of what you're looking at. And if you have a minute, it's about a 4 or 5 minute video, I believe. I can't remember who actually did it, but do a quick Google search and just type XRP Gold Reserve Act of 1934, and then just hear that logic, the way that they spell it, and it actually kind of makes your head spin a little bit. Okay. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying, hey, buy XRP now. It's going to be $1,000 one day. But I'm just saying that's how it surpasses what the tokenomics can deliver. Just using basic math, it goes more into the subjective math, which obviously would take a lot, but that's kind of the rationale. When people say those really outlandish price predictions, that's kind of what they're alluding to, kind of what we saw back then with the gold.
100%. And I want to get into that a little bit more. But a lot of people are asking about ZBCN. I told you this was going to happen. A lot of people talking about Zebec. Listen, guys, I like it. I own some. I made a little trade on it. I don't own a ton right now. There's one big issue. And again, I'm not fudding your bags. It's a $568 million market cap, and it has very low liquidity. So just keep that in mind. Okay, it's on Solana. Just putting it out there. For me, right now, it's a trade because of that liquidity. I'm not willing to hold it long term. Have fun, right? But that's that. So because I wanted to handle that because a lot of people asked about it. This is something else, Mark, to your point, and I'm not an expert when it comes to all this, but I do remember reading this article. I found it, pulled it up. Garlinghouse recently basically said that this is true. Ripple owns more than $100 billion worth of XRP. And if you guys know how XRP kind of works, it's all locked up in escrow. So right now, Ripple now owns more than $100 billion worth. It says here, during a recent interview, he agreed that this is true. The total value of XRP we own now exceeds $100 billion. He believes this should be taken into account when determining the company's valuation. Ripple has been trading in the secondary private markets at a significant discount to the net asset value, according to Garlinghouse. Early 2024, Reuters reported Ripple had a valuation of roughly $11 billion after buying back nearly $300 million worth of shares. However, according to Garlinghouse, this projected valuation is very outdated. It's safe to assume that $11 billion is very outdated at this point. At the same time, Ripple boss seemingly questioned MicroStrategy Sky High Premium. Okay, not important. Let's see here. Essentially, because they own a ton of the supply, it actually reduces the amount of supply that's out to the public. And it's not like Ripple is hiding this fact. So as long as they're holding it in escrow and they're not selling it, right? Hate to say it, but like we found with Ethereum, a lot of them are selling Ethereum right now. And I still own a ton of Ethereum, by the way. But this actually helps your tokenomics, right? Am I wrong here? Because it reduces the actual supply that's liquid.
Yeah, and that's kind of that oddball calculator where it's not basic tokenomics, and you can't just look at, and then it just comes down to kind of that previous discussion, how Ripple is, well, XRP, but we'll say Ripple for the argument. It's just, you treat it differently because they're more so, they're different than Bitcoin. They are literally like a step away from being like a publicly kind of traded company. It's with a token on the side. I mean, they're doing things that I almost consider them more as a company that would be more traditional for say the NASDAQ. So it's just it's just different, and who knows? But crazy things will happen if Ripple replaces Swift, and that's just what it is, and nobody can really quantify that. You can make predictions, you can,
even if they get a fraction of what Swift has,
and
that's
not
a complete shift, right? Even if
exactly
30% of that volume, 40% of that volume, 20% of that volume, they don't even need 100% for this to be super successful. I mean, obviously that's probably the goal here, but yeah, I mean, there's so many different dynamics. That's what makes XRP so fun to talk about. Is like I'm learning constantly every single day something new. We haven't even got into the whole CBDC and what they're doing with CBDCs outside of America. Obviously, Trump said no CBDC in the United States. Well, he's president, but outside of that, I mean, it's a real thing. And Ripple is in the business of that. They're doing that for other countries. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot to like. I think the big thing here is, with XRP, it's finally getting ready to unlock itself in the United States, really for the first time ever since cryptos went mainstream. And what could potentially happen is anybody's guess in terms of the amount of adoption, how it could be utilized. whether it's for cross-border payments, tokenization, both are massive. But the fact that the conversations can actually be had here sooner rather than later, I think is the big storyline here. We're looking at stablecoin regulation first, I think. That's first and foremost. Then I think at some point later this year, I think we're going to have a clear-cut path forward for crypto in the United States. And with XRP, Ripple, the company, you're talking about by far the largest US-based company out there in the blockchain space, with the ability to basically work in all of the big areas where institutional money is going to flow. And that's cross-border payments and tokenization right at the top. So how it all plays out, I don't know. But in terms of being a betting man, in terms of, being a retail investor, just some idiot on YouTube, I like, where I'm at with my XRP position. And I know we've had these conversations off record, obviously not financial advice, but to me, XRP outside of Bitcoin could be the safest bet in all of crypto right now, given where we are on this current timeline. I'm not saying it's going to $1,000, $500. I'm just saying if you're making a bet outside of Bitcoin with where we are right now in crypto, I feel pretty good. I feel really good. Is that new that little thing popped up on the sideline on the side?
Yeah, I put that up there.
How'd you do that?
Yeah, it's just
How'd you do that?
Secrets, Zach.
I like it. Guys, almost 1,000 people with us live though currently right now. That's awesome. Guys, hit the like button if you haven't already. Let's run it up. How many likes do we have on my YouTube side? Not enough. So let's see. We got like 300 people watching just on my YouTube alone. I don't even think we have that many likes. So guys, run it up. Let's get those numbers up and get some more people in here. And guys, fire off your questions, fire off your comments, thoughts. Outside of XRP a little bit, Mark, just for a few. What else do you like? Do you like XLM? That's kind of related to XRP. Do you like Stellar?
I don't mind it. I kind of was digging what people were talking about in the chat with Chainlink. Obviously, yeah. RWAs, I think, not financial advice, but if you want to talk about like kind of a sleeping giant, probably Chainlink. And, outside of that, I actually did a video on my channel. It was like I went over my top 10 cryptos that I personally believe in, that I hold, all that good stuff, and kind of went into the discussion
right here
with right there. Yeah, like right now at today's current valuations, which cryptos I think you have the best chance of turning $1,000 today into $10,000 first, and kind of which, I kind of rank them in terms of which you would, down that list. But it's kind of interesting because I think as I invest, as I trade, I don't ever really think of it like that. So I just kind of went outside the box, and it's interesting. I use coin perspective, so it was interesting to see what kind of numbers we came up with. And so I think the winner, Chainlink, from the current numbers was Chainlink. I think I had Caspa just right outside that, but I couldn't talk about it because they're not listed everywhere. So I kind of excluded them. And then from there, I think, I don't even remember my own video.
I feel that.
But I think it was, I believe, H-Bar, Ondo.
I really like Ondo.
Cardano and Pepe. I think those are
both undervalued.
Maybe Dogecoin after that. Those were like in order, kind of like the cryptos I think you can legitimately do that. You have the best chance within those, my top 10 that I hold, which ones you could 10x from right here today. That's just kind of how I broke that one down. So, without going like, obviously Mimi, if that's a verb or adjective. Mimi.
It's a different type of investment. I mean, listen, I love meme coins. Not going to shy away from it, but you got to look at them for what they are. And you still have to allocate yourself, in a position where if your meme coins don't work out, that you don't get washed out. That's something I've kind of, kind of coined, for a while now. And listen, I love meme coins. They make up a small percentage of the portfolio. If they hit it big, great. If they don't, I'm still okay because I got Bitcoin as a backbone. I got Ethereum as a backbone. I got XRP. I've got Solana. I've got Doge, I've got ADA, I've got SWI, which I love SWI. I don't know if did you mention that one? I don't know if you mentioned that. I still love SWI's upside.
I did, but I just don't. Yeah, they were kind of right outside that argument, but I left them off because they kind of. If you would have asked me a month ago,
they've already popped a little bit. Yeah, I still think they're undervalued. I hear
might have been number one, but despite them being undervalued, despite them, and also kind of that was when we were. That's a whole other discussion, but yeah, if you would ask me a month ago, they might have won that contest, that challenge or whatever I did.
Yeah,
because I think they're already, almost halfway there. If you would have went back from those numbers,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember picking up SWI.
Cardano was the one that surprised me. I remember the video a little bit. Cardano was the one that surprised me because it's so $7 Cardano doesn't seem crazy. You know what I mean?
No,
it doesn't. And so that's why I kind of had them up there.
No, when you consider their all-time high was 310 4 years ago,
Yeah,
and you just wonder though, like how many of these smart contract platforms / layer ones can constantly go up forever, like without like capital eventually flowing heavily into all of them. But it's an interesting conversation because I say that, and then in the same vein, Ethereum was such a clear-cut winner, and they've given a lot of their market cap back, to the likes of Solana and SWI and even Toncoin. I mean, has been on a crazy tear when you go back through the bear markets, right? Like, so I don't know. I mean, I think we're still early stages. We're still trying to figure it all out, and that's that's where a lot of money could be had. That's where the biggest opportunity is.
Well, there is a definite rotation that we do see, and
I do like XTC, by the way, Lonzo. I didn't mention it, but
yeah. And we had this kind of talk, applying it to more of the Dogecoin, the Shiba Inu, the Pepe, the mainstay meme coins. The issue is there's just way more cryptos on people's radar today. When we first got into crypto, there was 2 meme coins, right?
Yeah, it was it was Doge, Pepe, or SHIB, Doge and SHIB. I mean, and then we had a bunch of other stuff that flew a little bit, but it was much.
That's what got people into the blue chips because they made a bunch of money in crypto, and they just decided to kind of smarten up. Now, we look back, last cycle, or I shouldn't say that, but a couple years ago, or even I think it was less than 2 years ago, we have 10, 11 cryptos in the top 100 that are meme coins. So it's just a different world, and that applies to blue chips as well. I mean, Cardano was 3rd in market cap at one point, 3rd,
crazy,
right? And I don't care personally. I could probably just retire right now. Honestly, this is if we just want to call a spade a spade. Solana was at $19.
Oh, meaning you should have loaded the boat and you didn't?
Oh, I did. I just didn't.
Well, did the Solana meme coin trenches ruin you, or
no? Had nothing. They weren't even. It wasn't even like that.
They got a lot of people, dude. They got me too.
It was everybody and their brother, and I would talk Solana, and now Solana is purely transactional for a lot of people. But I was actually like a Solana believer, and I was swing trading it. But back then, that was a hold, and it was just purely like $19 Solana, and everybody and their brother, because they had an outage, and everybody and their brother is just saying, "Oh, it's all VC backed." Everything,
the FTX thing too, and the bear market. I mean, it was just one thing after the other.
And
I'll be honest with you, when Solana got down to like whatever $10-12, I did not. Yeah. I thought it was done.
How is it? That's what I mean, though.
I thought it was over, and
even
I
like
got the wave on it on the way up, like a little late, and I traded it and got out. I mean, made a little 3x on it. I've done decent with Solana meme coins, but what really gets me is the first run up for Solana before it went up and came down and went back up again. The first big run up, people forget Solana did a 100x.
Yeah.
I mean, a 100x, and so did Cardano, by the way, from its bottom to $3+ I know a guy who literally he did exactly what you just said. He retired off of Cardano the first big run, getting in at pennies and selling.
Yeah, and that's why I just
he's retired. He's retired. Done.
Yeah, I just chuckle with it all because like people just they FUD these cryptos and they just talk so bad about them, and it's like, are you believing the tech or are you believing in the chance to make money? And like what's it come down to? Are you buying the crypto because you want to see it change the world, or are you buying the crypto because you want to see it change your world? And like I don't like Solana. Like I don't have a Solana poster in my bedroom, but I rode that sucker for about a 20x, like on a whim. I mean, outside of maybe, I mean, shoot, I could go. It's just one of those like cryptos you can count on your hand, and like traditional stocks as well. Just like some of them, you'll never forget.
No, for sure. I mean, everybody has kind of their best plays that they ever made. Actually, that's a good question for the chat. What's your best crypto trade you ever had? I want everybody in the chat right now to fire up the comments. What's your best trade, your biggest gain on a single trade that you ever made? I'm very curious to hear kind of what people
like
I want it all. I want meme coins. I want it all. Yeah, I want it all. And speaking of meme coins, XRP's got meme coins. They have so much liquidity. I don't know when they're going to build a damn wallet that's built like Phantom so we can get XRP meme coins flying. I think that's such an untapped market. Whether you agree or disagree.
I agree, but like that's like if that's what I'm talking about. Like that's like Bitcoin if they came out with like actual Bitcoin DeFi. I know like they're bridging into it, but like
ordinals was a thing for a day.
Like half the people that I know that own XRP, I just can't imagine them ever trading meme coin. Like just from personally knowing people.
There's a lot of TradFi guys that just own XRP and that don't even own Bitcoin.
And that's what kills Cardano, in my opinion.
Yeah. We've had this conversation before. It's interesting when you talk to people outside of crypto that own only XRP. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Like I I don't really like tell people personally, like close to me or in my circles that I talk crypto and, I do all I'm very humble and I kind of keep things close to my vest. But I was golfing, riding a cart with some guy that works construction, owns a construction company. And he told me how much XRP he owns. And I'm like, you own any other crypto? And he's like, no, just bought a whole lot of XRP. Somebody told me to buy it. So I bought it. And like, so every time XRP goes nuts and pumps, I just think of this guy. He's actually a really good guy. And it's just crazy. Like crypto is so diverse and you have every mixed color, race, religion, social group background. It truly is
different reasons too.
Yeah. And the reasoning people get into crypto just really, throws me for a loop. But I will tell you, I like you guys on the live stream more than the people that I actually know. And that's why I think Zach can say this too. It's why we personally don't, unless people find us on the internet, we don't go broadcasting what we do here on YouTube and stuff because we hate answering those questions.
For sure. I'm seeing some cool stories roll in too. A lot of people hit it big with Pepe, man. H bar at 5 cents. That's nice, Tyler. I like that. Let's see. I say hits Shiba hits 0.00. Oh, where do you think it's going, Trav? I got you. I thought you were talking about a SHIB trade you made. I think you did do pretty good on SHIB too, right, Trav? Trav sends me his portfolio every once in a while, and he's come a long way, man. Shout out to Travis. I've met him in IRL too.
That's actually a good talking point too. There's a lot of people that won big off of Dogecoin, Shiba Inu. The early on people in crypto, I know more of those people are not in crypto anymore versus like, it wasn't like, oh, I hit it big, I'm just going to become an addict. And like, this is my life now. It's been the opposite. I think those people just run for the hills.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. And then you find some people who, hit it big with the degen plays who get smart and just buy themselves a couple Bitcoin, and I'm cool. I'll hold this and see what happens.
My best, well, I shouldn't say my best non-meme coin trade, honestly, and you're gonna hate me for this because if you weren't like if you weren't doing what you were doing, it would actually been probably more beneficial for me. And I think if you were on board, I think in the end it would have been a lot more beneficial for me as well. But it was Trump token.
Oh, dude, you sent it to me. So if you guys don't know this, Mark texted this to me. What was it, like $3?
Well, I was on it from the launch. I don't know why
you were in, like, I mean, I don't even, what was the launch price on it? I don't even remember.
It was I think it was either under $1 or right above it, but I pretty much, it was right at I think it was at like 70 cents, if I'm not mistaken. I literally, this, if you call it divine intervention, call it something, I don't know why. I listen to these random people on X, just kind of kick the shit, talk crypto. I got into space, just some random one. It wasn't even a big one, like one that people like flocked to. And these guys were just like, literally, hey, Trump just launched a meme coin. This has to be a scam. And this was like back when like everything was a rug on like on Solana. Yeah. And they're like, oh, he's not going to launch one on Solana. Like, this is, and I'm just like, I was probably had a few beers and I just kind of said, you know what? Like, I got a little impatient with the overall market and I just said, what, screw it. And I put $1,000 in it on a whim. Friday night, and I waited so long before I said screw it. And I could have got in literally, pretty sure it was under $1.
That's crazy.
And these guys didn't get in.
Does somebody know when it launched? Somebody put in the chat.
Yeah. And that sucker, I woke up and I have a very bad I got honestly move and get on a different time zone because between the hours of like probably about 3 and 6 a.m., I've probably lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just being honest, like within crypto trading.
Yeah.
I don't know how to figure that one out.
I did a decent trade on Trump. I mean, I didn't do great on it, but I mean, I did okay on it. I still hold a little bit. Outside, what do I have on Solana meme coin wise?
I don't even think it was the biggest trade. I just think it was the fact that it was the quickest. It was like,
oh yeah. That was insane. You're right.
Let's just buy it on a whim. Next thing you know, it's a top 15.
The amount of volume that came.
That was the craziest. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it's still clearly in the top, 50. I mean, it's got a nice lead over everything else on Solana right now. Still, after pulling down to 1141 right now. I mean, it's still almost $1 billion bigger than the next competitor, Bonk. I mean, Fartcoin. Shout out to Lazaro. Fartcoin made a lot of people some money. I mean, obviously, Whiff was one of the first ones after Bonk, I think. I still have a pretty nice size bet on Brett. We got pretty early to that one.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's outside the top 100. I mean, well, we know this. I mean, we know what's going on with that, but you got to connect the dots on it. Like, and I have my suspicions. I've heard rumors. I'm not gonna, speak out of line, but it's just you got to think to yourself, like, why is it not listed on Coinbase? Like, why are they listing all these meme coins? And
from my understanding, I think Coinbase doesn't want to shoot themselves in the foot and bring away their biggest volume, call it volume maker on their L2. Because I mean, just the last 24 hours, 37 million in volume. I don't think they want to take that away and pull it on the centralized exchange.
Well,
but there's some other things too.
Yeah.
The fact that I heard that they would have to, whoever wanted to list it would have to buy on the open market. They couldn't cut a deal. I mean, I don't know. But in some ways, it creates an allure about it too that I kind of like.
Well,
That DGens kind of like too. I think Brett's going to do extremely well. I think Pepe. I'm going to give you guys a couple hot takes. We'll go for another 5 minutes or so. We said we'd go an hour. I think Pepe is going to flip SHIB. And listen, SHIB is an asset I still hold. I was in at 6 zeros, in one of my big positions at 6 zeros and some change. I still hold that position. But the way things are shifting right now, look at this. Volume on Pepe the last 24 hours, almost $1 billion versus 150 million. Look at this. This is a 9x difference in volume. This is close to the Dogecoin volume, and their market caps are 6x from each other.
It has to be. It has to be a slap in the face to SHIB, though. Like, you think about.
Well, listen, I think SHIB will have its day. Don't get me wrong, but I just think, you gotta look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie right now. There's way more attention, focus. Let me ask you this from a YouTube perspective: are you going to get more views on a Pepe or SHIB video right now?
That's actually a good question. Probably, honestly, Pepe is kind of one that I probably, because I talk about it so much, that I get a lot of views from.
There's more search volume. I'll tell you this right now. There's more search traffic on.
But I will tell you, that if I did a SHIB video right now, I'd probably say SHIB just because no one else is talking about
it. Fair.
If SHIB starts pumping and you guys start talking about it, you can forget about it.
There's a couple ways, and listen, I don't want this to come off as like, hey, I'm just shitting on SHIB. I think SHIB will have its day again. But even when ETH started pumping, Pepe was really performing well, and SHIB was lagging. It was lagging behind ETH. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is exactly. I do think SHIB will have another run in it, but if you're forcing me to pick SHIB or Pepe right now, and Pepe's a little bit less than market cap, not that much, but a little bit less than market cap. If you're picking me to force one or the other, I'm going to probably say I want to own more Pepe than SHIB, and I do right now because Pepe just recently got listed on all the, degen places where retail will buy when they come back. Coinbase, Binance, Robinhood. Pepe hasn't seen a full-fledged bull run. SHIB has. But here's the thing. People will still flock back to Doge and SHIB when we get into that crazy retail madness. I think all these three at the top, and I'll include Trump in there too. I think Doge, SHIB, Pepe, Trump, they're all going to move when, crazy FOMO happens, when everybody and their brother, their best friend's dog groomer's talking about crypto,
Yeah, I don't know.
That's my take. There's going to be other things that outpace it though too. But it's just, again, it's how much risk do you want to take?
Yeah, I think I don't think retail is. If that happens, retail won't be the ones throwing the first punch if we do see that.
Well, no, you're right. They never are.
All of those SHIB people, I think, got wrecked. They all ran to Solana, the Solana casino, and I will say that kind of impressive. Even Dogecoins. It's stable, solid. It's done. You're up on Doge. You're up on Doge. If you just keep buying Doge, you're up. Relatively speaking, over the last year, you're up, and it's not even doing well. So it's I
was accumulating down here. Anytime it dipped down below 10 cents back in here in 2024, and even back in 2023, at various spots, I was buying. And then here again, you got a dip down in August for a while. It's crazy. You forget we saw a pump almost to 50 cents when Trump came in, but I think Dogecoin's got a lot going for it still. Who was it? Raoul Paul recently put together a Dogecoin versus Bitcoin chart. He absolutely loves Dogecoin setup right now, just from a technical standpoint. Yeah, and you got to believe that there's a lot of institutional money looking at Dogecoin. It is proof of work. It is technically sound. That's the thing people forget about it. It's the only meme coin that's actually technically pretty solid.
Yeah, it's basically the Bitcoin meme coin in a way.
Now they can increase the supply. They can create,
which is the difference. Yeah,
that's the big difference. But still, I think Dogecoin will do really, really well. I think it's a from this level, I think you're going to see Dogecoin hit $1 during the next parabolic move. I do think you're going to see that. We'll see. But when it comes to XRP, guys, listen, we covered a lot. This is a little different. This is one of those mainstays in the portfolio. I know we covered a little bit of everything there the last 10 minutes or so, but we're going to continue to kind of, do these lives and we'll talk about different ecosystems, take your questions. So make sure you guys are subscribed to all of our channels. I put Mark's channel down in the description and the X page for Crypto Mark, good buddy of mine. And yeah, man, do you got any last words, any parting words for the people?
Nope. Just appreciate you guys. We'll try to do these nightly deals. Any support, you guys want to follow me on X, YouTube, we'll talk to you on those platforms. Yeah, just keep growing, keep putting the work in, and we'll break out. And if we don't, eventually we will. So
awesome.
Enjoy it.
Right, appreciate you. Appreciate everybody for listening, guys. Again, make sure you guys stay locked in, man. It could get crazy at any moment in crypto, and keep coming back and checking us out. And we appreciate it, and appreciate you guys. We'll see you. Bye.